Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror PSA presented by Scary Nerd, and as always, we are your hosts. I'm Paul.
I'm Saul.
And I'm Angie.
The following is a public service announcement.
'A teenage boy and his father moved to his recently deceased mother's hometown where they encounter the ancient Native American cemetery with the power to raise the dead. We watched 1992's Pet Sematary 2 for this month's installment, or this week's installment, I guess I should say.
They're shitty September sequels. September shitty
The
sequels.
Sequels. Okay,
Yes.
so we're going to probably harp on this movie a lot because from part 1 to part 2, there was a lot of differences, okay? One consistent was Mary Lambert was the director. She directed both the first one and the second one. First one being written actually by Stephen King, who wrote the actual screenplay for the movie. This one, some other do, but I do want to read this piece of IMDb trivia before we start the movie. Mary Lambert has stated that her original concept for the film would have involved Ellie Creed as the central character, the only survivor from the first film. However, Paramount was not confident in making the film's lead a teenage girl, so the story was written with completely new characters and a male protagonist. 13-year-old Furlong was cast in the lead role, capitalizing on his rise to fame in the previous year's blockbuster Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So, to say that there was studio interference is kind of an understatement for this film. So,
Yeah.
let's get into the movie.
I don't know what thing you're going to think we're going to shit all over in this film. I love this fucking movie. This movie is one of my favorites from childhood. I don't know why you guys hate this movie so
I'm
much.
not saying I hate this movie. I have no problems with this movie, actually.
This movie is so fun and ridiculous.
That's the part that... Okay, but I'm saying you go from part 1.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you
Part
have
1
that,
was amazing.
And then you go to this one, it's like, what the hell happened, man?
Yeah, it got
Yeah.
it did get a little muddied, and I think a lot of people were upset that it had nothing to do with the original storyline other than just the space, but I still loved this movie. Well, let's get into the movie. They did the opening scene. It's so fake Hollywood.
It looked
Yeah.
it looked like it was going to be an episode of Tales from the Crypt, honestly.
Yeah, it did. It was very like, we're not showing you the real Hollywood. This is the fake Hollywood. I don't know. It just gave off that like cheesy 90s like.
Well, I bought into it because this was my first go around. So when I saw the opening scene, I'm like, this is super bad, especially for Hollywood. And then when you see the reveal that she was actually an actress in a movie, I'm like, okay, that all makes sense.
Yeah. Did anybody else
So-
think that theme song that she was walking down the staircase to was very Unsolved Mysteries?
Yes, very much
Yeah,
so.
a
I
little.
picked up on that.
I was like,
yeah.
that's the Unsolved Mysteries theme with just something laid
So,
over top
yeah.
of it.
Unsolved Mysteries theme, everything else looked like Tales from the Crypt episode.
Yes. They just, whatever the
They're like,
studio
just-
had lying around the lot,
It
they're like
probably,
throwing it
who
in
knows?
there.
Like, hey, can we borrow the tune there for a minute?
And we also need that
Yeah.
thing that's going to explode and kill our main actress, though, on this very set safe with there's just water everywhere. Why did
Yeah.
the set have to be wet? I never got that.
The floors, if you look in movies, roads, stone, like anything like it, it's always wet because it looks better on camera.
Well, I get that, but I'm talking about the thing that she was like, that they built this onto the set. I was like,
Yeah,
why
I
does
don't-
this need to be wet?
I
Yeah, I
don't
was
get
like,
they were. Yeah, it was too much water, or I don't know. It was just it wasn't done right. I don't know. Somebody dropped the ball, and then a huge fucking studio light just fell down on everything.
yeah, pretty much.
Those things are heavy as shit. So I'm sure that was like huge disaster.
The thing that I found funny in her death or what everything was the fact that she's sitting there being electrocuted and nobody's running to her aid at all.
I know. They're like,
Like, I
Renee!
Well, what are you
Like,
gonna
I
do,
get
Saul?
she's
You
being-
can't just grab her.
Like,
Or you'll get electrocuted too.
It was like, I get she's being electrocuted, but can you at least try something? Grab like your shirt, something to like try to pull her off or kill the power or
I know.
do
Like,
something.
unplug it, man.
Somebody unplug something quick.
Like somebody do something. And yeah, that to me was like, they're just letting this poor girl die.
And would
And,
your
like,
face
nobody's-
melt like that? I always wondered, would your face melt like that to the metal
I
in
don't
electrocution?
think so. Because I think you would just be like cooked, basically. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think there would be
Yeah.
like a melting.
Yeah, it wouldn't be all like it because it looked like very plasticky, stretchy, like melting.
Yeah.
When
it
she
was,
melts
it was
to
kind
the
of
thing.
ridiculous. Like, Yeah. Here's why. I don't want to say I hated the movie, but there are things that I do not like about this movie. And in this opening scene, there is one thing that I'm like, God, I hate this. Goddamn Edward Furlong's prepubescent just Mom!
Not his fault, all
Yeah,
right?
it's his fault.
It is not his fault.
He took the job. It's his fault.
Our voices all changed, okay? It's not anybody's fault.
But all I'm saying is in the summers of 91 and 92, all fucking summer long, all you heard was goddamn Edward Furlong and his scratchy
Mom.
cackle yelling, Mom! Mom!
I
In both
know.
movies. That's all he was like.
Poor kid.
He was paid millions of dollars probably just to yell Mom. And
I wonder
to
how
these-
much therapy he had to go through for a mom complex. You know, a poor kid had one.
Ugh, who knows? He's got other problems now, so.
Well, it might all be the mom complex. You don't know.
Hey, get some help, man.
Therapy works.
Yeah.
Anyway. But everybody, again, this is one of those horror movies where all the adults are dicks. Is that just a running theme when it's the main character is a child? It's just like all the adults have to be the absolute worst.
Well, even the kids were assholes too, because when
Oh
he
yeah,
shows
that
up
was
at
a
school,
whole town of dicks. A whole town.
Yeah.
Okay, my whole thing about this fucking... Are we going to get into the town, or is there anything else we wanted to talk about before we just get into the funeral in the town and all that?
No, I think we went over the death. Yeah, we can get right into the funeral. If you wanted to, the paparazzi are dicks.
Yeah.
That's a note I wrote. This
Well,
was
we
your
always
first
do that.
time, Saul? Is that what you said? This was
Yeah,
the
this
first...
was my first time watching the movie. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Saul. How did you miss this one?
I don't know. I can see why.
Edward Furlong. Because Edward Furlong
Well,
is
here's
in
the
it,
thing,
and you're like, nope.
I knew there was a second one, but I had no idea who was in it. So when I found out Edward Furlong was in it, I'm like, what the fuck? He's in this? And then as the movie progressed, I'm like, okay, you got him. You got one of the doctors from ER. You got the kid from Big and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in it playing a dick. So, and then you got the sheriff who I've seen
Excuse me, he was a twin from Overboard. All right, Saul.
I know him from
We don't
Big,
need to go.
and I know
We
him
don't
from
need to
Honey, I
go
Shrunk the
through his
Kids.
whole resume.
We should, because that kid raised me pretty
He
much.
had like 8 movies, and then he
Throughout the
just dropped
time.
off the face of the earth.
He
I
did,
think.
but good for him. That's a better way to do it than staying in the spotlight.
Actually, on his
And
IMDb, he's in one episode of like everything. He's another one of those guys.
Yeah, and then the sheriff I've seen in a bunch of other things. So I was surprised with the people that were in this. I'm like, okay, they're trying to.
Saul, you have a
Go
little
ahead.
girl, so you hear Clancy Brown every time SpongeBob is on, because all I can
I
hear
know,
throughout
I
this
hear-
whole movie is Mr. Krabs with
We
more of
haven't
the
gotten her
main
into
accent.
SpongeBob yet.
Okay, well,
We haven't
it's
gotten her
getting
into SpongeBob. No, it's not.
Yeah, stay away from it anyway. So they go for. Why do they move to the town?
Okay, here's the thing that kind of confused me, because even the IMDb synopsis was like, the dad and the son moved to the mom's hometown,
Yeah.
but it kind of made it seem when Mr. Krabs comes up and he's like, "You don't remember me? I'm Gus," and he's like, "Yeah, I remember you." So I'm like, did he go to school there too? Like, was he from there as well? Like, I don't get it, or it was just that
That's
he had
what
met
it
him
sounds
before.
like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
That's
know.
what it
was,
seems like.
Yeah, I was always confused about that. I'm like, or did he just know him from before? Like, one time that they, I guess it was their summer house or whatever. So I imagine there was just some other time where he's like, "Hi, I'm the sheriff. I used to bang your wife."
Yes.
The
Yeah.
Cool.
the weird thing about the scene where he told him how he used to date his mom and how he was a prom king and all this stuff, that to me made it seem like, okay, they did all go to school together and somehow he managed to woo her away from him. And I thought they were going to get into that, but it's just weird because they never really explained why, other than that being her hometown, that they moved back.
And again, why would you, if you're trying to get your son away from the memory of his mom by getting him out of LA, why would you move to this town that she rose from the ashes from? Like, it's a small town.
I know,
It's
and do you
definitely
think-
everybody's going to know about, oh yeah, she's from this town. And so everybody's going to swarm around that idea. Why would you move to that town?
Do you think she wanted to be buried there? Like, why did they bury her there? Like, that
There's
was
so many questions.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If I was from some
Yeah.
shit town like that, I'd be like, I'm not going back there. Screw that. Like,
Nope.
anywhere.
And none of
else.
her family was there either.
I know.
You
You
would
see
think that her-
nobody else that knows her.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
I
family.
know that besides the paparazzi, I think there was 6 people, and one of them was the priest or whoever. So, yeah.
There's a whole town full of kids, but not that
Yeah,
many adults.
and those 3 kids in the background that I'm like, that was just creepy to me. Like,
I know. Why are you there,
like,
3 kids?
if you were a cop, right, and then, you know, this is a small town, so he probably knows these kids and knows what they're going to be. But I'm like, if there's a kid just attending funerals randomly, then yeah, keep an eye on those fucking kids. That's
Like,
your
those
whole
fucking
PSA.
kids are up to no good. So if those kids are up to no good, they're gonna do some. They're gonna file this grave.
Chances
fuckers,
are,
like-
okay, there was 3 of them. Chances are one of them's going to be into necrophilia. Just saying, out of those
Maybe.
3.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
it was a Hollywood starlet or whatever you want to call her. So they maybe thought maybe they can get it on with a corpse.
You guys are taking this movie into such a weird place.
It's all in front of you to see.
No, I've been watching this movie since I was a small child. And I related to these children way too much than was necessary as a child. But
There were a lot of, I feel like this whole movie, okay, there are 2 things about this movie I want to say. First, the adults and the children all showcase like some incredibly stupid decision making throughout this whole movie.
So stupid.
On both sides.
Yeah.
The second thing that I want to say is, let me get to what I wrote down. Okay. The soundtrack of this movie is like an extra character in the film you don't want and didn't ask for.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the soundtrack?
Because there was a
Yeah.
lot of times they played music and I'm like, wait, that's totally taking you out of the scene. Like this random, like late 80s, 90s
No,
rock.
I wrote this film is angsty, and it's oozy with angst, man. It's just everywhere throughout the
It
whole
oozes.
There was-
music, everything.
I agree with Paul. There was a song on there where the lyrics I picked up on were, "I want to die like Jesus."
Yes.
Like, what the
Was
fuck does that have to do with
the
anything?
weird like rock one in the middle?
Yeah,
It was
I
like,
don't remember what
Yeah.
it was, but yeah, no. I'm like,
Yeah.
why are we wanting to die like Jesus? He goes through a couple different people that have died in that song,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe. But I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, I don't. These songs totally take you out of the scenes because it's like this. I think the movie could have been better if you just changed the fucking music.
It's the whole
Yeah.
story is kind of like a weird setup because it's trying to relate back to the first, but in no real coherent way. Like you have the dad who's a vet that's kind of like the doctor, Dr. Creed, and then you
Yeah,
have
new
this
doc in town.
lone child. They've just suffered a loss. Like it's kind of like they're trying to connect things that don't really connect and still make it Pet Sematary, but there's nothing that makes it Pet Sematary.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like they knew like shit. We're losing the audience. We got to bring up the first movie again. So like, random scene. We gotta
And
throw this
I'll
in there.
never
You heard
understand-
you heard about the Creed murders yet?
The
Okay.
thing that I've never understood about this movie, and we can get through, we can, talk more about it as we go through the scenes, but there's some weird fucking town conspiracy to get the mom buried in the pet cemetery throughout this whole thing. Like, and they don't really
Yeah.
explain it, but at certain times I'm like, why are they trying to get him to bury? Like, who is behind this plot?
Yeah,
That's
it's like
just,
there's some unseen force that's like invading his dreams and like the dad's dreams, and I'm like, what are with these weird sexual Zowie wolf head dreams? That
I
you're like-
know that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like Chase had sex with Zowie basically in the wife's tits.
Yeah.
The first thing you
Yeah.
get is like, all right, these are back. I wrote down Chase as a boob man.
Yeah,
It's so
because that's all he
weird, though.
concentrated on. And as soon as he looks up, he sees the dog wolf head, and it attacks him. Which
Okay,
that was
even
just- that was just
even
weird.
the housekeeper, right? Marjorie Hargrove. I'm like, you
Oh,
were just
Marjorie.
You were just trying to move in and be like, take over the family. I'm
No,
like,
her first thing is like, oh, I adored Mrs. Hollow.
Oh,
Or-
look at this
I was
dress.
like, okay, yeah. And then the dress falls down the stairs, and this bitch is just, let me get it, and picks it up, and it's like, look at this thing. It's gorgeous. Like, starts putting it up. I was
This
like,
is the
that's
one
a
she
dead
wore to
lady's.
the Emmys.
Yes, I was like, that's a dead lady's dress. Put that down, bitch. What
I know.
are you
Why does it
doing?
make a difference if like it's a dead person? Like this was Renee whatever Holloway, I think her name was.
Yeah, something
This was
like that.
Renee Holloway's
I got-
dress, like weird.
When they introduced her, I got Fatal Attraction vibes from her, but she really wasn't that big of a part of the movie. So I'm like,
No, and her
why would they-
character was weird because she had similar hair color to the mom. And like they kind of picked an actress that kind of looked like the mom and
Yeah.
like went that
Yeah.
route.
That-
But again,
like the
there
eyes
was
and everything, yeah.
But there was no real storyline to it. It was just like a different theme thrown
See,
in.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm saying this was a complete like studio interference. Like cash grab. Like, all right, the movie did well. Let's make another one.
It's like on par with DC.
This is what I'm telling you. This is why we picked it. Like, this is our shitty September sequels because you're like the first was great, and then the second one they just made for money, and it was crap.
Yeah.
Okay, and I also want to point out, I want to point out one thing here. Is another thing. They dig her up like 6 months later. Like how long is it?
Let's get to that at the end.
Because this is
I don't know.
I just want to say, okay, fine, we'll get to the end, but I'm like, there's a lot of shit here that I'm like, okay, you want to make this movie like an extension of the first one, but then you're ignoring rules we set forth in the first one.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to that when we get to the fucking ending, because that ending, man.
That ending.
It's okay.
Oh.
I love this movie because it's batshit crazy, but I don't love this movie because I'm like, why even associate it with the first Pet Sematary? Like, just
Yeah, if it could been its own thing, it might have been better off. It
like,
could
you
have
know,
been
if it
crazier
was like
in its
same
own way.
universe but has nothing to do with the creeds, or like just something that has its complete own story. But this, no way. Like,
To me, it just seemed like they were trying to set up way too many things, and they're just creating them. They were writing themselves into holes, and they're like, "Shit, we can't go that way because it's gonna veer off this way." Like the thing with the housekeeper, they made her look too much like the mom, and then they just completely forgot. Like, crap, we can't do anything with her, and they turned her into a bit part. They tried to do too many throwbacks to the original, and they're like, "Crap, we can't make it too much like the original because it is a sequel," and it's just. You have too many things going off in too many directions. They didn't really tie those strings, and they just left a giant jumbled mess, in my opinion.
Oh, yes, it's definitely a jumbled mess. Yes.
it's entertaining though. I mean,
I
it is
enjoyed
entertaining.
it.
It's okay. For me, it's a good movie, but it's a bad movie, and that's I'll get into my final thoughts later, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's a movie. That's all I'm going to say.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Well, eventually, Jeff, Edward Furlong's character, meets Drew and his big dumb dog, Zowie.
Oh, no.
And we
That poor dog.
formally meet Gus, who is Major Dick, police
Yes.
chief.
But I used to date your mom.
Oh, no, I wrote,
Yeah.
"Hey, Jeff, did you know I used to fuck your dead mom?" Because that's basically what happens in
I
that
wrote,
scene.
well, okay, I don't think you fucked her when she was dead. I mean, I hope not. But hey, Jeff.
Well, she's dead now.
I wrote down, hey, Jeff, you know I banged your mom? And then I put small town dude sex with celebrity. Like, that's like, got to be like every celebrity has probably got that. Where like, it's just, some guy you dated in high school and he's just like a greasy, stained wife beater shirt. And he's like, yep, I had sex with her. We went to prom.
I used to date her.
Yep.
Like, I used to date her. And that's like his
And that's
whole
Gus. That's
life
basically
story
Gus.
thing.
But then he was
Yeah.
sheriff because this was how shitty this town is. They're like, all right, well, Gus, I guess, is the sheriff. So.
Town full of dicks. And we meet Clyde, one of the hoodlums
The next
that
sheriff
were
in town.
Yeah, no, he was one of the
Yeah.
hoodlums at the gravesite because he needed to be there to see the funeral for some reason. But Clyde has it out for poor Jeff for some reason. He does not.
He just doesn't like him.
He just doesn't like him, and
Whatever, yeah.
like Clyde's constantly be like, "Hey, your mom's dead." Like,
The-
why?
The dynamic between them in the beginning reminded me a lot of like Hocus Pocus, where it's like, hey, Hollywood.
Yeah.
No, yeah, ice and
Yes, I told you, it's ice.
He
Yeah.
did. And then his little lackey, the one with the hair, little poof in front of his face, like his hair poof in front
the
of him.
'90s poof.
Yeah, they-
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that for no reason had a Georgia accent.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is another thing that bothers me. Okay, they filmed the first one in Maine, like actually in Maine. This one, because it was cheaper, they decided to film in Georgia
Yeah.
and to pass it off as Maine. And that one kid that was one of the other like underlings of Clyde, when he says something to him, he's like, "It's in the Pet Sematary," and I'm like, "Why does he?" They didn't tell this kid not to use his accent at all, like, or that was the best he could do, maybe.
I think that was the best he could do. They're like, damn it, he's too hillbilly for us to even try to.
All right, no more lines for
lose
that
the
kid.
accent.
That's it.
I love how, though, there's so much bike riding in this movie. Like, they really tried to focus on the children without focusing on the children. There's a lot of bike riding going on, and then you're supposed to see things in the background. Like, there's this one shot of where they drive or they bike ride past the Creed's mailbox, and that's supposed to tell you that, they're in the same spot and they're almost to the Pet Sematary.
Hey, just in case you guys forgot, this is the Pet Sematary.
And don't worry, because the road that little Gage got hit on isn't as dangerous as now. It's perfectly safe to ride your bike up and down all over the place.
Apparently, there's a new route for those trucks to take.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And so they get down to the Pet Sematary and they're like, hey, have you guys heard about this place that brings the dead back? It's right over there. They didn't even cover it up.
Yeah, like, okay.
Nothing happened. They just put a sign that says keep out, and they just expected that that's going to keep everybody out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's my question for the town. All right. Does everyone know? Is everyone stupid?
Yeah,
or
everyone
are they all
knows.
in denial?
No, they all know.
You don't know, like.
No, I wrote notes about this extensively in here.
Okay, because that's my thing too. I'm like, okay, I was
I
like,
think all these fuckers know.
I was like, there's no consistency. It's like,
No.
well, if even the fucking kids in your town know the secrets of the fucking Indian burial ground, then this is not a secret, right?
Yes, and even
No.
fucking dickhead Clyde is like, you should go dig up your dead mother and stick her up there.
And put her up? Yeah.
I'm like, why? Why would Clyde want him to do that?
Well,
Clyde has no.
I know why Clyde wants that to happen, but you don't ignoring the signs. He went to a funeral for a reason, man.
And poor Jeff is just having the worst time of his fucking life. He's just lost his mom. His dad's moved him to this horrible shit town and basically just abandoned him there.
He's got that horrible
Not
shrill
only
voice.
did he lose his not only did he lose his mom, he watched her die.
Yeah,
That's
he watched
gotta
her
really
be
fuck you up.
electrocuted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's move to a town where we'll be constantly reminded about your mom. Mm-hmm. So much so that you pointed out that they're like, oh, they're gonna love her and adore her in this town. I'm like, but that little memorial in the hallway, I was like, that's like 4 magazine covers,
I
man.
know.
Like these were all you could find. I do want to point out that it's funny that the clip that they keep watching of the mom on a different movie, where I'm like, it's funny that why do you guys just keep watching this one clip where she gets smacked around?
Because they only paid for that clip.
That's actually what it is. Like that was a clip from a movie called Once Upon a Time in America, and that she was actually just in that movie, so they just used that clip for that. So I'm like, but they could have picked a better scene where it's just like,
nope,
she
they
just gets
paid
smacked a
for
couple
one
times.
clip, and that was what
But I'm like,
got.
as a grieving son and estranged husband, would you really want to see the scene where she gets smacked around and like just keep watching
Apparently
this
so.
one?
No, everybody in this town likes to watch weird stuff because the next scene is Gus watching his rabbits. Fuck. And he's
Every
petting his
note.
rabbit. And
There
I'm
was-
like, what? Is this is he fucking their rabbit?
There was not a scene in this movie that showed the rabbits where there were not 2 rabbits fucking. Like every time you're like, why are there's more rabbits than last time? Like, the rabbits are just
my
out of
goodness.
control in this movie. That's what it turns into, like Pet Sematary 3. It's just invasion of rabbits.
The Night of the Lupus.
They end up getting buried somehow into the Pet Sematary, and it's.
And I love how they keep trying to throw your attention in different directions with this. Because, like, there's a scene where Jeff comes into the kitchen and the maid, Marjorie, is there. Because that's what she is, right? She's like an
She said,
assistant.
I'm your new housekeeper.
Yeah, a housekeeper or something. And she's not doing anything really bad.
Yeah, you
and he
never
just
see her
looks at
work.
her.
Oh.
He just looks at her and goes, "You're not my mom." And I just wanted her to go, "No, I'm your maid. That's why I'm
Yeah, I
handing you
work here."
breakfast." I don't
I
know.
want her to be like, you're not my mom. Be like, I know, I'm here.
Oh,
Checkmate, Jeff.
burn.
Ooh.
Well, that would have just added up Jeff's like shit having time because he's just not having a good time.
Hey, but if Marjorie wants to weasel her way into Chase's arms,
Did you say weasel hole her way?
weasel hole? Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
there we go.
And then Gus is molesting fucking Drew's mom in the kitchen. Like there was not a scene where these two people were in.
I know,
that they
much
weren't
like
all
the
over
rabbits.
each other. Much like the rabbits.
Much like the rabbits, like, geez, Mom, I'll take the mashed potatoes because you hold the orgasm.
Stepdads are the worst, and I should know I've had more than my fair share. I
So
think
was
I'm on
there-
4 now.
Was there fingering while Mom was making mashed potatoes?
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Because he was like, take the dog out while I put this away.
I know. And then later that night, they're having sex. And God forbid a dog interrupt that dude having sex.
I know. I wrote down there's no quicker way to get rid of a lady boner than, go out and murder a dog real quick.
I know. The fucker shoots it, and no one says anything.
No,
No one says
Drew
anything.
says something.
He's the only one, and it had to be this like slide in at the doctor.
Well,
like,
that was his cry for help. What do you want Drew to do? He's stuck. Like the
I
mom
know.
didn't help him. All she did was look back at Gus, and she'd be like, "Okay, we're good."
Oh, I know. And I love Gus is like, stop looking at me like that. Like, no, fucker, you just shot a dog. I will look at you how I want to. Okay.
Okay, let's analyze this though, because where's Chase gonna go? Because Gus is the fucking sheriff,
I know.
man. So like, who are you gonna go to in this fucking town?
I know, poor Drew. Everybody in this town needs therapy, and possibly some adult supervision, because they're just leaving the Indian burial ground out that everybody knows about that brings dead bodies back. They're just leaving it out there, just making sure they're using the honor system. Is what they
that
are.
really is. It's like if you have a huge sinkhole somewhere, it's like, all right, just don't go to that side of town anymore. We just know not to go over there.
And what does this dumb child do? Immediately wants to bring his dead dog back to life.
And okay, horror PSA. If you are driving down a desolate road and there's a couple of kids walking down the street holding a dead animal and they're going into the forest, maybe call somebody.
Maybe check.
I don't know.
Like,
and if you know
what are
that,
these kids up to?
and if you know that you're in the town where there's a Native American burial ground somewhere that brings things back to life, you should probably stop and say something. And why did somebody give Clyde? Why did Clyde upgrade to a goddamn fucking
motorcycle?
No, I was going to say dirt bike. Yeah. Why did Clyde get upgraded? Like that was like, all right, now he's the full villain because he's blonde kid on a dirt bike,
Blonde
like every
kid
other
on a
fucking movie that we talked about. It's like like his 80 cc's had barely caught up to the fucking bike that Jeff was riding on his mountain bike. Like, change my gears and get out of here.
I know. And then poor Drew's like, hey Jeff, my dog's dead because my crazy stepdad shot him. You want to help me bury him?
I'll go get a shovel.
I'll go get a shovel.
Hey, that's friends, man.
Jeff's having a shit time. Drew's been traumatized.
That's a true friend.
They're bonding
like,
over their traumatic experiences.
All right, dude, I'll go get a
The
shovel.
thing that I found weird is how he's sitting at his steps covered in blood, and we're like, what the fuck did you do if you're covered in blood? And then he's like, my dog's dead.
Yeah. Like, why?
Did you kill it? What happened?
For Lewis and Judd, getting up that little embankment through the trees was really difficult, but those kids had no fucking problem. They had the stupid agility that kids have, and they're just like, no, you walk up, it's stupid. Like they just go.
Yeah, okay.
Like the one dude the one child carried a dead dog up there and was just fine.
Yeah.
Well, later Gus carries the mom up there, so it couldn't have been that bad.
Well, apparently from the first time to the second time, they cleared somewhere out. they made it easier to go up.
Okay, we're going to make it easier to get there, but we still don't want you to go there.
Hey, we had to put the sign up there, okay? We had to make it easier
right,
to get up there, to put the keep out sign.
We got donated some closet doors and we made a little archway that says keep out.
Oh, and I love Drew's stupid child line. He's like, if there was just one chance in a million that it would work, wouldn't you try it? And I'm like, exactly why? Somebody needs to put a fucking fence up or something. Because everybody would think that. Well, I could bring somebody back. Let's just go take him up there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because you know what? Guys like Clyde would be like, I'm going to put this in there. I'm going to put this. Like, guys like Clyde would just kill stuff to bring it back.
Literally, Drew says, you have to bury your own. That's what the Indians did.
Yeah.
The kids found out all the rules from hearsay.
How is it a secret if everyone knows the fucking rules?
All the rules were learned from hearsay.
Okay, here, I said earlier, like, there's a lot of shit in part 2 that the rules are broken from part 1. There's rules in part 2 that they break later on in the fucking movie.
Yes, there are.
Like, why does Clyde come back? Who was Clyde's? Like, because
I know Gus buried him.
Like, how is that Gus's to bury?
It's not Gus's. I mean, yeah, he killed him, but like, he's already dead. So how, like, dead people shouldn't be able to bring other dead people back. That doesn't seem fair. That seems like a workaround, or you're gonna have a whole army of the dead.
You're making a copy of a copy. You can't do that. It's like multiplicity.
Yep,
Like, no,
it would have just dumbed it down, right?
You would have been like, I like dolphins.
I like dolphins. Touch my Peppy.
Touch my Peppy. We're gonna get a dolphin.
Okay, we can't start going out.
Welcome to Multiplicity of the podcast.
We've seen that movie way too many times.
Do it again.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so fuck Clyde is what I'm saying.
I know. And then Jeff's like, listen, dude, I know your dog just died, but you need to get a grip. It's not going to come back. And then the dog comes back.
Hey, dude, so your dog came back.
Yeah.
Huh? Fucking told you, Jeff.
And then Gus just finds fucking Drew wandering down the highway. And he's like, what are you trying to prove, boys? I wrote nothing. You shot my dog, you crazy person. I just didn't want to come home.
Well, see, I think that's when he's like, I went and buried my dog. And he's like, all right, well, I guess I can't get mad at you because I killed your fucking dog.
Ugh. And then Zoe comes back and they're like, what are you doing, Lionel? I'm like, has anybody looked at this dog?
I know.
That dog
Gus,
clearly is dead.
Gus, okay, first of all, Gus, you clearly grew up in this fucking town, man. You had to have heard the rumors, quote unquote.
If
Yes.
if 15-year-old Drew knows.
Drew knows the fucking rules about burying your own. Like at no point with glowing eyes and a big gaping wound in the side did
Clyde was telling stories of the Creeds, so Gus had to have taken
Yeah.
care of some of the Creed shit, right?
Yes.
He's the fucking sheriff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
It's like you completely disregard part one, except for the random parts that we remind you that part one existed and this is part two.
And then
Except to just ignore all that stuff.
the vet comes, and I love how he's just like, well, what happened to your dog? And that's when Drew's like, some psycho got trigger happy.
Psycho got trigger happy.
Like, yeah, some psycho. See, stepdads
Again,
are
who's
the
he gonna
worst.
call?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I'm
You
not
can't call
kidding.
them.
The first time they go to the cemetery when after Clyde steals Jeff's cat. Why did he bring the cat with him? Like you're just looking to get beat up if you're bringing a fucking cat
I
or something.
know.
Yeah.
Just leave the cat at home.
I don't know. All right. When they first go there and there's that possum, that random possum there in the fucking pet cemetery. I'm like, who's your favorite possum?
Lester!
Oh my goodness.
But no, so Jeff and Drew go out for Halloween, and they literally throw Jeff's dead mom in his face. It's a doll that's dressed up to look
Again,
like his
these
mother.
kids
And Clyde
are
throws it at
assholes.
Jeff. And then they all laugh. They're like, look at him go down. He's scared of his dead mother. Like, what?
Okay. Yeah, I wrote down, after the Creeds shit, shouldn't the people of this town keep the old Indian burial ground a better secret / better guarded? I mean,
Yeah.
what if Pumpkinhead just wandered into the general store in that town, right? It's like, oh, hey, Pumpkinhead, how you doing? Like, all right, he wants this. See you later,
Should they at least
Pumpkinhead.
put up See, I agree with what you guys have said. This is a shit secret that everybody knows about, and put up a fucking fence.
Yeah.
Do something.
I know. They go to
Don't
the pet
have-
cemetery to have Halloween, and he's
Yeah.
telling the story of the Creeds to the rest of the town children. And he goes into this urban legend about how Ellie went crazy and hacked up her grandparents.
Oh.
And then Gus shows up and punches a child, is what I wrote.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah.
And Clyde even literally says in the story, he's like, he dug him up and it was all full of maggots and he buried him in the cemetery. And I'm like, so you literally know,
You
like
know the
what
whole
happened.
story,
Like
yeah.
this is the first, you're recapping the first movie for us
And still, y'all
Yeah.
just put up a keep out sign.
with the old closet doors.
I'm just like, come on.
And then here's the other thing that bothered me about Jeff. You know these kids are being dicks to you. They've bullied you. They've traumatized you. They took your cat. They dressed up on whatever dummy to look like your mom, and you're still fucking hanging out with these kids.
I know. There's a scene where they're all coming out of school, and Clyde and his two goons are standing there, and he's like, "Come here," and they walk over, and I was like, "No,
wait,
don't walk over there."
Okay, wait, is this a small town thing? Because I wrote down, like, why in 80s and 90s movies was there always a random thing or event you had to go to with other people in the town that you hated / were your enemies?
No, it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a lot of shit.
Because I didn't grow up in a small town, but I'm like, I would think that, if it's a real small town, then you have no choice. It's like I either hang out with these people or I hang out with no one. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of assume that maybe that's what their thing is. It was like, well, these are the only people in, my age range or whatever. So if I can't hang out with them at all, then, I'm just stuck at home.
Yeah, don't let people throw your
I don't
dead
know.
mom at your face
Still, though.
and then still hang out with them.
I don't know though. He did punch Clyde, and even Drew was like, "I've never seen anyone punch Clyde." So, so maybe he was like, "All right, well, I'll punch him again.
I'll
Fuck him, I
punch
don't
that
care."
fucker again.
That's what I was waiting for him to do when they were around that little campfire thing. When he started talking shit to him, like, he's going to punch him again. But he didn't do it.
Should've.
I'm like, oh, come on. You should have stood up to him and just punched him. That's what I waited for. And then at least give Clyde credit. When Gus showed up, he tackled, what's his face, Drew, so he could get caught and everybody else can get away.
Why is that
at least was
credit?
smart.
That's not credit. Everybody
Hey,
knows
that
that
was-
Gus is abusing this
I know.
poor child.
It's not
But
even.
still, though, that is smart. If you know you're going to get in trouble and you can get somebody else caught instead of you,
No,
Yeah,
don't
but
be
also-
that person. No, Saul. Boo.
No,
No.
okay. It's
Don't
a
be the
small,
narc.
It's a small town, though. Gus knows exactly who was fucking there, and it's not like
Yeah.
he can't just be like. Especially that they know that Drew's gonna get the shit beat out of him, right? Drew's gonna be like, Dave was there.
That's
Tim.
Drew's line. Drew's like, he's going to beat my ass, is
Yeah,
what
he's
he's
like, God, he's gonna beat my ass. Yeah, and so he's like, Dave was there, Tim, like Jeffrey, like he's gonna name everybody. So
Yeah.
it's not like you guys weren't gonna get caught. Like you might have got away right now, but Gus knows who was there, and if he really wants to go after you, he's gonna go after you. So
I know, and I love how Gus is like, you boys better not be drinking, and then you hear the clink, 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 clink.
you hear that quintessential teen party,
Yes.
like even
All
as
the
a
bottles
teen,
hitting
even
together.
as a teen, when it was like, and then it was like, what the fuck? All those bottles clink, right?
Yeah.
And so you're
Yeah.
like, guys, that's wow. Like I always just like face palm. Like I'm like, seriously, like you guys are like, this is so cliche. They're just like, oh, grab all the bottles and make the fucking noise.
I
right?
know,
When
nobody's
someone's
going to
there.
know
Like,
what's going on. But no, Gus just shows up and gets so mad. And like, Drew's trying to get up, and then Gus just punches him and then tries to hit him with a cross.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
he
don't
was
get-
gonna,
yeah, he was
he was
gonna
gonna
beat the-
kill him.
Yeah,
Like,
he was going to go
like,
too far. And then Zowie shows up and rips out his neck.
Zowie kills is what I wrote.
Yeah, and I'm just like, good. Gus sucked, but the kids are
Okay.
like, we got to bring him back. I was like, no,
Right.
no, you guys totally could have gotten off. You guys totally
okay.
could have gotten away with that.
Here's what
Yeah.
I wrote. Zowie kills, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's done. I thought it was funny when he was like, we killed him. Are you sure? And I was like, yeah, there's a fucking blood bubbles coming out of his fucking neck. I'm pretty sure he's dead,
And I wrote, they didn't even do anything.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like I wrote, just fucking leave. The dog gets blamed, and they'll probably just put him down, and then this whole mess goes away.
Right? Just
no
walk
more,
away.
Yeah.
No more dead dog that you don't know what the fuck's gonna do. No more Gus beating on you. And
Right? You totally
fingering
could
your
have been
mom in the
like,
kitchen.
he showed up, we ran away, we got away. End of
Yeah.
story.
And not that you couldn't see that Drew got hit, and then like Jeff would be like, "Yeah, Gus hit Drew."
Zowie
and
showed up, we
Zowie
left.
showed up, and then we ran off. We don't know what happened.
Right? Like, just don't touch him. But they're like, we can bring him
Exactly.
back. And I was like, no, that's dumb. He wasn't good at being alive
Yeah.
the first time. Don't bring it. Here's another horror PSA. If they weren't good at being alive the first time, they're going to really suck at being alive the second time. So just don't do it.
Yes.
Okay? Don't bring that guy
If you
back.
suck at life the first time, why should you get a second
Yeah.
chance?
If you weren't nice the
Exactly.
first time around, sorry. Second chance is out.
And then they establish and break a rule again in this fucking movie. Because they bring Gus back, and then the next day or whatever, when Jeff sees Drew for the first time, and he's like, yeah, he's real nice to me, and he gave me extra French toast this morning, and it's like a real family.
Oh, yeah.
So they set up this thing, like,
Yeah.
well, maybe they come back the opposite of way they were, right?
But
Yeah.
we had already seen before that while Jeff was having a nightmare of Gus, Drew's mom was getting raped by zombie Gus. And that's not something anybody wants. Nobody wants to get raped
So now
by
we
a
just
zombie.
have, what did I write down? I think we have the Gus the raping zombie is what I wrote down.
Yeah, and I love how he can't really command his body yet. Like, he's throwing
Although,
his
yes.
head around, but he gets horny.
Gus the drunk raping zombie is what
Mm-hmm.
I called him.
Here's the one thing that I found funny when he was trying to dress his wounds. You could obviously hear the shower going, right?
Yeah.
Like, why not take a shower, clean up as much as you can while you're in there, and then bandage yourself up? Why did you have to bandage yourself up before you took the shower?
Because he's not thinking. He's
Yeah,
not. He's,
he's
not,
not.
a. So
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, he's kind of a zombie, but he's not. Like he's just a mindless, like zombie almost. You know?
Yeah,
It's just
he's
there and
way
he's
more
alive.
comical than they were in the first.
Yeah, he starts
And then
out.
the
He starts off really stupid, but then he kind of gets dark and like, oh, I'm going to kill people now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I noticed, not only with Gus, but also the dad, they all got bit in the arm. Okay, you have an injury to your arm because obviously dog bites suck. They all forgot about those.
Yeah.
Like, he's more worried, like, okay, dress the wound that you have on your neck, obviously, but you still have wounds on your arm because that dog was gnawing and tearing away at your arm before he went towards your neck. I just found that a little weird. It was like they just completely forgot about the dog bite on the arm.
Well, that's when we get to the scene that will make you question your love for mashed potatoes forever.
Oh,
And then Gus's neck starts oozing.
No, I wrote when they were talking, when Drew's like, we're like a real family. I put, oh, poor Drew's delusional, and Jeff should have told him that. But Jeff's just really dealing with his own
Jeff's
shit
not
at the
in
time.
Jeff's not in the right frame of mind to be like talking about anybody.
I know.
Or, like,
and they're like, hey, let's stay the night at each other's house right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Because he even says that when he's completely different. He's like, he did this, and oh, you can stay the night if you want.
I know. I'm like, why? Why is that? Why would you want to go stay the night? Like, don't.
You got to check out the zombie dad now. Like, all right, what can we get away with now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the sheriff and we control him.
I know. And then they discover, well, the vet, the dad vet, discovers that Zowie is missing. And I'm like, see, you guys should have totally just left Gus out there. It's clear the dog, like, got out. Like, it's all the evidence would have been there for you to just have not needed to have Gus. Like, you could have gotten rid of Gus, Drew. Man.
Perfect crime, perfect alibi.
And yeah, that's where I wrote, that's when they have that scene when they come out of the school that day, is why do they keep listening to Clyde? He's a dick, because that's when he calls them over. And I think Jeff's dad shows up and tells him to stay away from Zowie then before they have their sleepover.
Yeah, because he had talked about the blood being dead and all that from the other guy at the lab. Yeah, the vet lab or whatever, right? So that's what he's like, if you see him, stay away. But then I'm like, he goes home and he's like super scared about the dog or what?
No,
like,
he first goes and visits the crazy ex-vet who's just sitting around playing with dead animals.
But were they dead? Because that bird wasn't.
The bird wasn't, but that dog, that taxidermy dog he was giving new eyes to sure was.
Okay, I want to point something out while we're here, actually, because I kind of forgot about this. The IMDb trivia goes into great detail about how they filmed all the scenes with the animals.
Really?
So you don't like think that like it goes into really super great detail about how when the Zowie first comes in and chases that kitten, it's like the kitten did this. They shot them all separately, like they weren't even together in the scenes and all that, and like it's like it goes overly detailed to be like, look, we didn't fuck with any animals.
We didn't hurt any animals.
Animals weren't hurt or scared or sad at any point in this movie, even though there's a lot of animal shit in this movie. But so yeah, all the taxidermy stuff was real except for the dog he was playing with, which is a puppet. So don't think that they were playing with a real pug.
But the crazy ex-vet tells dad vet to get out of the town. Just get the hell out of that town.
Again, he asked. Again, he asked him about it. He's like, just let it go. Let what go?
Just leave it alone.
Yeah, that's what he said. Just leave it alone. Just get out of there.
Yeah, and that's when you have the super gross mashed potato scene. And he also is fucking Jeff really hard while he's eating those mashed potatoes.
That he is.
He's like fucking Jeff with his eyes in that
Yeah,
scene.
there was a little.
I was like, why is he so intense? And this was after the boys sat around and watched Gus skin and gut his rabbits.
Well, they had to make dinner.
I don't get why the hell they were sitting there watching him do that.
I don't either. It's so weird. I'm like, what is going on?
Maybe they were scared. They were like, all right, he's got a knife. We don't know what the fuck he's going to do because technically he's dead, man. He could just fucking... I mean, we don't know what's going on right now.
So Jeff is getting eye fucked by Gus. Meanwhile, Dad's watching old movies of his wife dying. And then he starts to have blue dreams. And then starts to have blue dreams. Is it blue ball dreams? That's what I wrote.
Well, it is now. When he's like, booby dog? I couldn't finish. Oh, yeah.
And in the blue balls dream, she says, I can come back, Chase. Like, why?
It's her the whole time. It's just her spirit trying to
come back.
So yeah, that's it. This is the movie right now. It's her the whole fucking time. She made everyone do this from the grave. She was some sort of witch, and that's how it happened. She invaded the dreams and was like, bury me there. God damn it, bury me there. I've been telling you for months. It's already fucking Halloween.
Yeah, I wrote boobs, but with Zowie's head. Womp womp.
Zowie boobs. Wowie zowie.
And then you get the saddest line of all when they leave each other the next morning. Drew goes, hey, Jeff, do you ever think about running away? Jeff goes, all the time. I'm like, oh, these children. Somebody get these children out of this town. And this is when...
Drew, don't say lines that they're going to be like your last words.
I'm going to cry. And then this is where Clyde tries to kill Jeff for some reason with his dirt bike.
Yeah.
Like, why? There's no rhyme or reason to it because, like, they were just hanging out on Halloween. And nothing happened in between hand, really. Like
no, because he goes up and he says, "Thanks for ruining our Halloween."
Oh, is he still pissed about the Halloween?
Yes, because that's when he knocks him over or whatever, and he's like, "Thanks for ruining our Halloween."
But that wasn't Jeff's fault.
Okay,
No.
why are you telling me? I'm not.
Well, I'm asking, like, why is he mad at Jeff?
You want me to speak for fucking Clyde? I
Yes.
can tell you what it is. I'm
Clyde,
a fucking
why were
bully
you
from a
mad
small
at
town.
Jeff? I need to know, why did you want
I'm
to kill
not
him?
a blonde douche from the 90s with a dirt bike. What the fuck do you want me to know what's going through Jeff's mind?
It wasn't Jeff. It's
And he had
Clyde.
like 6
Sorry,
earrings.
Clyde.
He did have a lot of
The
earrings.
little fucking cross thing, too. The douchey 90s, late
Mm-hmm.
80s cross thing. Again.
I wrote, Jeff just should have stopped when he heard Clyde on the dirt bike. Like, he would have had to come all the way back around for it.
I know. I was like, just, brakes real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, no, because I thought, too, when he was holding the handlebars, when Clyde was next to him, I'm like, okay, grab his handlebars and smash down
Hit the
real
brake.
hard on that brake, and then he'll go flip over and you'll be okay. You might fall, too, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as what's going to happen to fucking Clyde.
Yep.
I know. And then the thing that I found funny as hell is when Drew saw Clyde going towards them, and he's like, "Crap, I got to turn around."
He falls
And
over.
I don't know if that was acting or if that was accidental. Because
That's just
it
a fat
looked
kid on a
like-
bike, so
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one thing I was like,
the
that's
fat
just
kid on a bike.
kid on
That's
a
what
bike.
happens, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fat kid wearing jeans riding a bike. This is going to
Hey,
happen.
it's difficult, okay?
Oh my goodness.
But then
But yeah,
Crazy
Clyde
Gus shows
escalated-
up when dressed right at the right time.
I love how it escalated quickly from Clyde being just a neighborhood dick bully to all of a sudden wanting to maim what's his face, Jeff.
Yeah, he
'Cause he does
graduated
that
to
whole
murder.
weird-
Yeah, like real
Yeah,
quick.
You
yeah.
fucked my Halloween
Yeah.
up, and now I'm going to murder you. Is basically
See,
what
that's
I'm
what
gonna
I'm
kill you.
saying.
Yeah,
like
okay.
there's no rhyme or reason. Like it's a pretty big jump from one moment to the next.
Because
That's all
you
I'm
fucked
saying.
up my Halloween.
And I love how when Gus pulls him off, he's just like, I was just fucking with him. I wasn't gonna, try to murder him or anything.
I wasn't going to try to clip off his nose with his wheel spokes.
And I love how
But
when
yeah.
Gus starts doing it with the dirt bike, he's like, I'm just fucking with you.
Okay, you're assuming he was going to murder Jeff, but you don't know that. He might have just been scaring him. So it might have been a next step in his graduation towards murder. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying he would have murdered. I don't think he would have murdered him. Mm-hmm. He was looking to.
Oh,
He was graduating to a new level, but it wasn't murder yet. All right,
He had
wasn't ready for-
escalated, is what the FBI
Yes.
would have said.
He's escalated to a new level. That's what I'm saying. He's on the same path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then poor dumb bastard Drew shows up right at the worst moment. And I was like, okay, if Drew wouldn't have seen that Gus took out Clyde, would Gus just have not tried to kill him?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think about that too, and I always because I thought too, like, what if Drew would have been like, all right, just don't tell anybody, Gus. We're good. Like, thumbs up. We'll go home. I'll see you at home. We'll have some mashed potatoes.
Drew being stupid too sat there and waited for him to start climbing up that hill, but before he decided, oh shit, I better leave.
Well, you saw how hard it is to turn around on that fucking bike. What do you want him to do?
He didn't have to turn around. He could have just pedaled straight. He could have been like, just fuck it, I'm out of here.
I know, man. Just read the room, Drew. Read the room. Oh, and that running through the house scene with Drew, that gave me so much anxiety as a child.
When he put the keys up there, I'm like, what the fuck is
I know.
wrong with you,
Keep
Drew?
the keys on you,
Jesus
Drew.
Christ, man.
Not just that though, but if he made it seem like he knocked him out of the house, you're putting the keys up on your little key ring thing next to a door that has glass.
Yeah. A lot of it didn't
Like, it
make
is-
sense.
And not to
Yeah.
mention the fact that he drove there, so he has his own fucking keys, so he can get in the house if he wants to. So all you're doing by leaving the fucking keys there is making sure
He
you don't
takes
have any
your
fucking
keys.
keys.
Yeah. Oh.
And then the thing with the shotgun. Oh, whatchamacallit? You didn't check to see if you had rounds in that before you took it?
I know. He just cocks it and then it doesn't look. I was like, no, you always check the barrels. Always check your barrels.
Well,
What movies and all that stuff have taught me is you always check like 3 or 4 times to see if there's rounds in your gun.
okay, but Gus is a cop and probably has those loaded all the time. So that's probably why
Yeah.
Drew didn't even think about it.
Probably. And then we get a nice car chase because right after Drew climbs out the window, the upstairs window.
His mom shows up.
Yeah, and then we get his mom shows up and they get into this police car chase right into a potato truck of death.
Yeah.
Potato. What's with all the fucking anti-potato propaganda in this fucking movie?
I don't know, but that foot among the potatoes when they see after the crash is a core memory for me. It's like solidified in my brain because I saw that as a very young child and I was like, oh God.
Death by potato.
Yes, death by potatoes. Core memory.
So if the car crash doesn't kill you, the potatoes are going
The
to.
potatoes will.
It was starched to death.
Yes.
And I love how apparently there was a funeral for those two and Gus went to it.
Yeah.
I know. How I want to know the extent of Gus's mental faculties right now.
I know,
as
because
the recently deceased.
we don't see the funeral, but the next shot is Jeff's dad talking to Marjorie about, the death of his best friends. And he's like, how's Jeff? And he's like, I don't know. I haven't talked to him about his best friend dying. I just thought, he'll be fine. I'll leave him alone to have his own
Yeah.
What
space
was
up
that?
there.
Yeah, it makes it seem like it was like that same day or something, right?
Yeah.
And then he's watching the news like,
Yeah.
well, the funeral was a couple
Yeah,
days
because
ago. I'm
they
like,
talked-
what
yeah.
the fuck? It's been like 4 or 5 days and you haven't talked to him about it yet? Like, what a dick, man. Like, he's just horned up because he can't. The first time he looked at Marjorie, he stared at her. So he was like, all right, it's not what I was expecting, but okay.
And
I think
then,
the dad was just negligent because it really never seemed like he ever actually talked to him because he said he didn't talk to him about the death of his best friend. I would assume he didn't talk to him about the death of his mom because he just moved him all the way over there.
Yeah, there was a scene, right, where they're sitting there. It's Jeff and the dad, right? And Jeff was like, do you think you and mom would have got back together? And it's the longest fucking pause that
and
he
he's
has.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's convincing, dick. Like,
Lie better, Dad. Lie better.
Oh my goodness.
No, but so Jeff's dad goes up to the attic for some reason. I guess that's where Jeff lives. He's been in the attic all day. So Jeff's dad goes up to the attic to talk to him and discovers that Jeff's got all of his mom's shit out. And he's like, there's a place where I can bring people back. And Jeff's dad's like, don't lie. Like, what? You need to get your son some fucking help.
stop lying, you little bastard.
You need to take your son to
It
a
looked like-
psychiatrist.
Okay,
Where,
this is
in
where
this
another
town?
thing where the movie, to me, again, this is where the movie took another weird turn because Jeff looks like he's still in his funeral clothing because he's wearing that black suit, something that you would wear to a funeral. And he has that weird little sinister look like he's up to something. He's being influenced by something. You're like, okay,
Yes, he
now what's
gets-
going to fucking happen?
Jeff
Yeah.
was gonna fuck his mom.
I wrote
This
down
is-
that Jeff gets a real Norman Bates
Yeah,
vibe. at
because
the end.
I'm like, it almost looked like he was wearing like a tuxedo kind of thing, like he was like in a suit, like we're gonna get married.
Yes,
kind of thing.
so
Like,
Jeff's dad is like, I don't believe that you and Drew buried Zowie and he came back to life, even though a bunch of fucking people have told me that dog was dead. It's
Yeah.
been confirmed 3 times.
I've got 2
At
different
this point.
veterinarian professionals. that
But
have told
don't
me.
lie, Jeff.
I've had weird dreams. Zowie actually fucking attacked me the other night.
And then he gets a phone call. It's from the cemetery. It's like, Gus came and dug up your wife. I don't know what happened, but
Hey, Doc, your wife's not here anymore.
Gus came and just dug her up real quick.
I'll be right there. Like, what are you gonna do? What do you mean I'll be right there? She's not there.
It's like
love-
the dude, like the, whatchamacallit, the graveyard, I don't know what you want to call them. What's he going to tell him? Oh, okay, let me confirm what I just told you, that he dug it up. You see the empty grave. You're like, are you not going to fucking believe the person that just told you got to come over here and this is what happened? Like, what the fuck are you going to do?
But okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for the caretaker real quick. But who the fuck's he gonna call if the sheriff is the one that did it?
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck are you gonna call? So you're like, well, if I call the husband, at least it's out of my hands now.
The sheriff came and dug up your wife. I
If
just
he
thought
did-
I should call somebody.
You know,
I didn't really know.
I don't know who to call. 'Cause this is some crazy shit. I'm going back to bed.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's like,
but-
I can't call the cops because they are the cops. And they're going to be like, yeah, so what are you going to do?
I
Oh,
love
my
how
goodness.
Jeff
the
though
police
walks.
done stole your wife.
Jeff walks out of his house and through some sort of swampage and finds a back way to the Indian
Why
burial
is there a
ground.
swamp now? Why is there a swamp route to get to the fucking burial ground?
I don't
Why
know.
is there swampland in Maine?
I don't know.
I love how Marjorie, who's supposed to be watching Jeff, just takes a nap on the couch.
Worst fucking housekeeper
She really
ever.
is. And then when she wakes up, she goes upstairs to try to find Jeff. Can't find him. She's like, hey, look at these clothes. I'm going to do a full face of makeup and put on a dead woman's clothes and makeup real fast just because I found it all here.
Oh my goodness.
And then poor
And
Zowie
then the
gets
dad does. Yeah, and then the dad, wow, for whatever reason, he decides to show up to
Gus's
Gus's
Yeah.
house. And
Gus has really
obviously
let the
Gus-
place go to hell really quickly, too.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he's a bachelor now. What is he gonna do? He's got no one to cook or clean anymore. He's on his own. He's got to eat rabbit for.
Yeah, he does. And he eats those rabbits. He's just got a whole, like, meat shelf of rabbits.
You gotta love how when the dad shows up to the house, as soon as he steps out of the car, he gets immediately attacked by Zowie.
Yeah, he does. He's like, gets his gun out and then just gets attacked.
I wrote down splat splat Zowie.
Yeah. And then Zowie dies for a second time. He gets shot again.
Yeah.
And then poor Jeff's dad. What is his name? Did we know?
Gus.
No, Jeff's dad.
Jeff's dad is Chase.
Chase. And
Yeah,
then Chase has to fight Gus. And then I really always have loved when Gus goes down, he gets shot in the head again. He kind of sputters out, and I've always kind of liked that because he was cognitive, but he was also very zombie-like. So I dug the like sputtered out zombie.
Yeah, they fucked that kitchen up.
Yeah, they
Like,
did.
He took down
Oh my
he
goodness.
took down a fucking armoire while he was dying in his death scene. I'm like, this is the greatest death ever. Like,
Yeah.
you take it all out. This was after he drilled fucking
Oh,
Chase's
the drill.
shoulder.
Yes.
I'm like, we have to
Oh.
get into that because I'm like, all right, that was pretty cool. Like now we're gonna start getting into some shit, and like it actually
Yeah.
starts getting into
It's
some gore and shit.
gore,
Like,
yeah, the
but yeah,
drill
that
in the
fucking
wound.
drill scene. I'm like, yeah, you
Oh.
wouldn't be able to use that arm anymore. Basically, like,
Still to this day, I can barely watch that scene without like that thing in my ear just like shrilling my whole head together. Like when I see that
Yeah, I
scene,
can't even
like,
imagine
oh, it just gives me chills every
the
time.
pain that would be. I mean, it's already you get a chunk ripped out and you just drilled you. Oh.
Oh, it's such a great scene.
Yeah.
This is when it like really, if it had been able to stand on its own, it would have been creepier because I feel like it just gets bogged down with it trying to be a pet cemetery. It could have just had its own story had it not been a pet cemetery.
Yeah.
But then Mom shows up and Marjorie gets it right in the eye
Yeah.
with a piece of glass, right? Or no, they take her eye. She like tries.
Well, it was weird how the whole setup of that happened because Chase, the dad, goes up to the attic, sees her laying in the bed, and like, yeah, what do you think is going to happen? That chick is dead. It's like you had the zombie Gus guy you just killed. You just killed the zombie dog.
Your wife's body's been missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I want to
Like,
go back
what-
real quick. Okay, I wrote down. Got to go back for that tap 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 when Gus came out of the
Oh,
house.
yeah.
Or no, when Chase came out of the house
Oh,
and then he goes back
yeah.
into Gus and he's like boom boom boom. I'm like, all right, good on you, man.
Yeah.
No one ever
Good.
does that
Like, you-
shit.
Yes, you need to
Yeah.
do that. Yes.
But yeah, credit to what Paul said. You don't anybody ever do that. Ever since Zombieland, the double tap thing applies to everything.
Yeah,
And it was a
especially
nice thing.
especially if things
And it
are
was-
coming back. Like if you know
Yeah,
something
and it
is
was a-
dead, you do it.
And that
Couple
was
double
smart on him. He didn't just put one. He put like 3 or 4 to make sure
It was 3. I wrote
he
it
wasn't
down.
coming back.
Tap tap tap.
Yeah.
Was it 3?
Gotta go back for that tap tap
Hey,
tap.
well, Gus was a worthy adversary, man. He put
Yeah.
up a fight. Like you said, they took down
Yeah.
that kitchen.
Well, plus he
Oh,
saw
my
he saw
goodness.
what fucking Zowie was about. So he's like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Tap tap tap, baby.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not fucking around.
Then he finally goes home to deal with his own messed up family.
Ugh.
He
Poor-
goes back to the attic where Norman Bates Jeff is there with his dead mother.
Where they were kind of weirdly hugging on the bed again.
Yeah.
This is just there's too much weirdness for me.
It is very weird. Like he's all Norman Bates up in his little suit and like they're hugging and then she's like, I love you, and he just smiles weird. And you're just like, what?
Hello, mother.
And then he just snaps out of it and tries to leave. And that's when you see the zombie Clydes.
Yes,
come
Undead
out of-
Clyde shows up.
I wrote
Yeah.
down, okay, up until this point, everyone that's been Pet Sematary is actually what I wrote. Everyone that's been Pet Sematary at this point has come back kind of the opposite, except for Clyde. He's more of an asshole with worse one-liners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the part where he pukes on Jeff and then bites him. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, he's gross and nasty and half his face is off.
And then Mom automatically goes pyro and just starts torching the place.
Well, she starts knocking everything over. She breaks the glass, and then that's when she knocks over the candle and starts setting fire to everything.
And I don't remember, is Jeff's dad just like incapacitated?
Clyde hit him, and then he was just went down like a bitch and stayed there the whole time, basically.
Because he had the axe and he hit him in the head, and he said something to him and knocked him out.
And then, Jeff gets Clyde with electricity to the mouth hole.
Eat this, asshole, is what his one-liner was.
Yeah, and it blows up his head, which is actually pretty cool. I like that part, though.
Yeah, that one is always cool. And then you get the mother screaming, "Don't leave me!" And then they had to put in "Dead is better."
Yes.
Well, the weird thing is how she started melting, and her scar from her death started showing back up.
Yeah.
And it started like pussing out, and when she just started melting, and then that's when what's his face, Jeff finally decided, oh shit, what the fuck did I do? And like, let's get the fuck out of here.
She's like, don't leave me. I'm like, bitch, you started this fire.
Yeah,
you stay.
I wrote down, Mommy melts and Jeffy can now move past his mother's death, and all it took was to electrocute someone else.
No, it took him burying her, bringing her back, and then letting her die again to get over.
And then he electrocutes Clyde.
Well, he electrocuted Clyde first.
Yeah.
Before he lets his mommy melt.
And then Chase, the dad, and Jeff get into their little weird van thing.
They pack up and they leave town. And then you have this weird picture outro that's not really an outro with tense music over the landscape.
It doesn't make any fucking sense.
And then you get in credits. I'm like, so wait, did we have two outros here? Is that what happened?
I wrote down, what's with the weird photo/video clips at the end? That's not actually credits. Then I put, because damn it, we paid for these overhead shots. They needed to just use those up.
I know. Like you always saw the weird picture things, but it was always with an outro credit style thing. They always had the names there. And like I was like, okay, like that makes sense to me because that was the style. But I don't get the pictures with the background.
I viewed it as the in memoriam in case you forgot who died. Now you see who died.
In case you didn't remember, in case you fell asleep halfway through the movie, here's who we lost.
For those we've lost in this film. But they're not really dead, just their characters.
Just their characters.
Okay, how do you explain it all away as Chase, right? I just put Gus was obsessed with my wife, killed his own family, and then dug up Renee.
Yeah.
We're leaving.
Yeah.
And then set my house on fire with her inside of it.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
And
then
somehow
I went.
Clyde was there.
Yeah,
too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Things are.
I think he was molesting Clyde.
Strange things are afoot in Maine.
Well, what happened was all of you fucking idiots in this town let the children of this town know exactly the secrets and the details needed to bring people back to life. So, yeah, you guys are stupid.
So I put in a fence,
we're
and now we're leaving.
I wrote down, just to throw this out there, right? What if the cemetery just makes your body a conduit for a demon, like the next in line kind of thing, right?
Why do you always try to put your own weird shit into that? That's not what this podcast is about.
It is. It is what this podcast is about.
Get your own ideas, Paul.
Dead is better.
Yes.
So final thoughts for me is I love this movie. It makes no sense to the original Pet Sematary, but this movie has a lot of nostalgia for me. I've watched it for years and years and years, probably since it came out on TV at some point. It's ridiculous. The Zowie with boobs is probably the most ridiculous thing you'll see in this movie. But it's a good time.
That poor actress had to wear that.
I know, she did.
She had to wear like a
poor lady,
like
a Zowie head,
like a mascot head. Basically, that's
But this movie is fun. It highlights how terrible most adults were in the 90s.
Do you think
they really were shit? They left us all at home. We were the latchkey kids generation.
Do you think there are people that saw that as like younger people, in the 90s that saw the Zowie tits thing and like it opened a door for them?
What do you mean?
Furries?
Like furries, isn't that what it's called? Like
furries?
I don't know.
They plushies or
That's what I
furries.
thought.
Hey, as long as what goes on in your bedroom is consensual, do you?
I thought furries, like you see the boobs and then you see the head. I'm like, somebody is getting really off on this thing thinking furries.
Well, boobs don't excite me, so I don't think. I wonder if people are into this when I see boobs like you guys do.
Oh, I didn't make this movie, Angie.
Well, hey, apparently it stirred something within you guys. So.
Not me. I'm saying.
Hey, you wrote the note. Is all I'm saying.
I didn't write the note. I just had this thought right now. This is mental Mental fart.
But what's your final thoughts, Paul?
Okay. It's going to be weird to say this, but as a companion piece to Pet Sematary, this movie is fucking horrible, right? There's no time ever that I want to be like, you know what? I just watched Pet Sematary 1, and now I want to watch part 2. Separately and on its own, this fucking movie is amazing, and it's hilarious, and there's good gore, and there's a lot of fun to be had. But no time do I ever want to watch this with the first one, just because it's so goddamn different and so campy and off the wall that it's not in the same. It can't be part 1 and part 2 for me. Like, I can't binge watch these together and watch them in order and expect the same level of film or whatever, right? So it's a bad movie and it's a good movie, and separately it's a better movie than it is next to part 1, I guess. But watch it; it's fun. Wowie zowie.
All right, Saul, you're the only one of us that didn't see it as a younger person. So what's your final thoughts?
Here's the thing. I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Paul said. If it has nothing to do with the first one, if you go in there expecting to think it has anything really to do with the first one, then you're going to be let down. I think what they should have done is they should have just left it on its own standalone movie in the same universe. We watched a little bit more of the Into the Darkness thing, and they talked about how with Halloween 3, how everybody expected to see the Michael Myers tie-in and everything, and what they wanted to do is what they should have done with that one, and I think what they should have done with this one, like they said, let them be their own standalone movies in the universe. That way people would have enjoyed it a little bit more. I think if you would have done this with the second Pet Sematary and not called it Pet Sematary 2, if you would have just kind of alluded or brought it around somehow like that, it would have been that much better a movie. But if you try at all in any way tried to connect it to the first one, that's what just makes this a horrible shit movie. But if it's a standalone, it can be okay. So if you do
it's
that,
funny
I
that
think
you say that, because I was actually gonna in my final thoughts I was actually gonna say
Didn't you
it's
already do your final
yes
thoughts?
but in my final thoughts I was gonna say it's the Halloween 3 of
Okay,
Pet
yeah.
Sematary.
I call bullshit on that though.
Why?
Because in Halloween 3 they show Halloween 1, so not really in the same universe.
It's not. That's true.
So I love Halloween 3, by the way, and we need to do Halloween 3.
We do, but that's
So
not a
this
shitty
is a
sequel.
Huge, This is a huge, not for September. I mean for maybe October.
Yeah. But like I said, if you do that, then I think you will enjoy this movie a lot better. But trying to compare it, and like Paul said, finishing watching the first one and thinking, oh, I immediately need to go see the second one, then yeah, it's that weird dynamic with it. It is what it is. It's now that you've listened to us watch this movie, you'll know what to expect and go within that, and you'll probably have a better appreciation of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Fun fact, I had a huge crush on Edward Furlong as a child.
You like that shrill?
It really did it for me when I was a little girl, yes. I was like, and so that's why I saw this movie as early as I did, because I had a huge crush on Edward Furlong in the 90s. He was in everything, okay? So sue me.
He was in like 5 movies, man. Come on.
Well, that was everything to me as a child.
Yes.
Yes.
But that is it for this week. We are coming back next week with Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood as a shitty sequel. And boy, oh boy, are we going to have fun with that one. So make sure to like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about this wonderful podcast. And you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/scarynerd. You can check out more horror entertainment news at scarynerd.com. And like I said, we'll be back next week with Bordello of Blood. Anything else?
No.
If you want any stickers or anything, please email us at podcast@scarynerd.com. Hello to all of our international listeners. We've got a lot of fans in the UK recently.
Yes,
so,
our UK numbers have really jumped up there. So
hello to you.
No, I'm sorry,
Across
UK
the pond.
listeners. I'm terribly sorry at that horrible accent. We'll be better. We'll be better. Anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.